The cliffs are crumbling, roads are vanishing, and entire neighborhoods are sliding toward the ocean. California's iconic coastline, the one you've seen in every car commercial, every romantic drone shot, is literally breaking apart. And it's not a metaphor. It's not a warning for the future. It's happening now. In just the past few weeks, the Pacific Ocean has slammed into California with record-breaking force. Waves reaching nearly 25 feet, tide surges soaring over 11 feet. The result?
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Of natural instability, human interference, and a whole lot of denial catching up with reality. Let's start with the ground itself. California's coast is made of soft sedimentary cliffs, pretty to look at, but extremely easy to erode. These cliffs have always been vulnerable. Now add relentless wave attacks, weeks of heavy rainfall, and human development stacked right on top of them. That's a recipe for collapse, and the timer has run out. Every time it rains, the soil saturates. That extra weight weakens the already fragile cliffs, turning slopes into landslides. One moment it's $1 million view. The next, a backyard in freefall. And when you build homes, roads, and water systems right up to the edge of these unstable cliffs, you're not just tempting fate, you're speeding it up. This isn't new. Engineers and geologists have been warning about it for decades. But now, those warnings are being drowned out literally. Some neighborhoods are so threatened by erosion that homes are being bought out or outright evacuated. Others are watching their property lines vanish foot by foot. The ground is slipping away, and there's no easy way to stop it. And if you're thinking, well, that's just nature doing its thing, think again. Human development is a huge accelerant. Water from irrigation, broken pipes, and poor drainage seeps into the cliffs, destabilizing them even more. We're not just building near danger, we're feeding it. The state's response: high-tech surveillance. And honestly, it's impressive. We're talking real-time satellite imagery, GPS sensors that can detect millimeter-level ground shifts, and tide gauges tracking rising sea levels. These tools let officials see exactly how fast the land is moving. Sometimes just a few millimeters a week, sometimes much more. But even with all this tech, there's only so much you can do when the entire coastline is inherently unstable. Engineering teams have been deploying everything from flexible piping to dewatering wells, trying to relieve pressure in key zones. Some roads have had their water lines rerouted, others reinforced with temporary fixes. But these are just that, temporary. Because here's the truth. You can't fight nature forever, especially when the ground beneath your feet is already compromised. And the scale of this is staggering. This isn't just one town or one beach. It's a systemic, regional crisis playing out across hundreds of miles. Need a reference point? Let's go back to 1956, the Rancho Palos Verdes landslide, a now infamous disaster that saw entire sections of land slide into the ocean, displacing families and destroying property. That happened without today's sea levels, without today's climate pressures, and with far less development along the cliffs. Now fast forward to the present. The risks have only multiplied. The combination of intense storms, rising tides, and soft cliffs is not just inconvenient, it's dangerous. And what makes it worse is that these elements can align in catastrophic ways. A king tide during a heavy rainstorm. That's not just bad luck, that's a full-scale emergency. And that kind of scenario is becoming more likely, not less. Some areas are lucky for now. If storm patterns ease up, erosion might slow. But that's a temporary pause. The long-term trend is clear. With sea levels rising and weather growing more unpredictable, every storm season brings new threats. It's not about if something will collapse. It's about when and where. Let's talk future scenarios. In the best-case version, California invests massively in adaptive infrastructure. Communities retreat from danger zones. Drainage systems are redesigned. Early warning systems get even more precise. And, critically, development slows or at least rethinks its proximity to the edge. But let's be real. That kind of coordinated, forward-looking response takes time, money, and political will. And if history is any guide, a lot of that doesn't show up until after something collapses on camera. The more likely short-term path. More landslides, more evacuations, more homes teetering on the edge, and a growing sense of déjà vu as local governments scramble to react to something they already knew was coming. California's coastline is in crisis. And not just because of nature's power. The real story here is how human choices building too close, ignoring geology, prioritizing development over safety have turned a vulnerable coastline into a slow-motion disaster. At this point, even the most advanced technology can't fully prevent it. Monitoring helps, engineering slows things down, but none of it rewrites the fundamental fact: the land is unstable, and the ocean isn't backing off. And there's another piece hanging over all of this: climate change. While it wasn't the headline in this latest wave of destruction, it's the background hum in everything. Rising seas push higher tides. Warmer oceans fuel stronger storms. And all of it accelerates the erosion that's already happening. What used to be once-in-a-decade events are now showing up every few years, or every few months. So yes, we can track every millimeter of movement. We can install slope sensors and build retaining walls. But unless the bigger forces, weather, water, and human stubbornness, are addressed, the cracks in the coastline are only going to widen. This moment, it's a warning shot, and it's far from the last. If you've made it this far, you probably have some thoughts. Drop a comment, especially if you've ever lived near the coast or seen the damage up close. Hit that like button if you think California needs to stop building on literal cliff edges. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more breakdowns of the disasters we can't stop watching. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one, hopefully not from the edge of a collapsing highway. The wildest part: people are still building, still buying, still dreaming of that Pacific Ocean view, even as chunks of those dream homes slide into the surf. It's like watching someone set up a beach picnic during a tsunami warning. Local governments are caught in a tough spot. On one hand, they're trying to keep people safe. On the other, they're managing property taxes, real estate pressure, and the impossible politics of telling someone their million-dollar home is now worthless because the land beneath it is crumbling. So instead of pulling back from danger zones, what do we get? Sandbags, concrete patches, hastily installed drainage pipes, like duct taping a sinking ship. And sure, some of these engineering interventions do work temporarily. Flexible water lines that bend with the shifting land, slope reinforcements that slow movement. But they're patches, not solutions. Meanwhile, emergency responders are stretched thin. Multiple counties dealing with simultaneous road collapses, flash flooding, and cliff failures. Try managing traffic and evacuations when entire sections of the coastline are becoming geological wildcards. We're talking streets swallowed overnight, beach access routes cut off, and families told to evacuate with only hours of warning. And the kicker? A lot of the people affected don't even realize they're living on borrowed time. Some areas look stable until a week of rain turns the soil into sludge and gravity does the rest. The land moves slowly at first, a few inches here, a crack in the driveway there. Then, in the middle of the night, it gives way, and no one's ready. Let's go back to the tech for a second. The satellite and GPS networks watching all of this unfold.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
That's the level of monitoring we need, because by the time you see the damage with your eyes, it's already too late. Still, no amount of high-tech tracking changes the core truth. The California coast wasn't built to last, at least not in its current form. These aren't granite cliffs, these are soft, sedimentary layers shaped by millennia of erosion. Waves hammer them daily, rain breaks them down, and we've put homes, highways, and water systems right on top of them. It's the geological equivalent of building a castle on a sand dune, and then acting surprised when the foundation disappears. The consequences are stacking up. Some neighborhoods are already experiencing forced relocations. Others are being bought out by local authorities because the risk is now unmanageable. Once prized beachfront real estate is turning into no-go zones, and every storm redraws the map a little more. And remember, this isn't all happening in some rural, forgotten stretch of coast. We're talking prime California real estate. Communities people fought to move into. Areas with million-dollar views and multi-million-dollar infrastructure now sitting on the edge literally of collapse. That's the heartbreaking part. Families who poured everything into a home, only to find out they're part of a geological countdown. And there's no easy fix. Insurance doesn't always cover it. Relocation isn't always feasible. And when your house is technically still standing, it's hard to convince people to walk away. Until it's not. This is where history could have taught us something. The 1956 Rancho Palos Verdes landslide didn't just wipe out land, it rewrote policy, changed the way experts thought about development, and forced some hard conversations about risk. But flash forward to now, and it's like we forgot all of it. That disaster should have been a blueprint. Instead, it's a warning we've chosen to ignore. And it's not just homes. Highways are in serious trouble too. Some major coastal routes have already seen closures, detours, or complete rerouting. The ground beneath them is unstable, and all it takes is one bad storm to knock them out again. These roads are lifelines for communities, for emergency response, for tourism and their sitting ducks. Infrastructure adaptation is underway in some places. Engineers are working to relocate water lines, install flexible joints, and reinforce vulnerable stretches. But here's the thing. These are piecemeal solutions. They buy time, not safety. And the question isn't whether the land will fail, it's whether we can move fast enough before it does. And then there's the wild card, the weather. If storms keep hitting hard, and they line up with high tides, the impact multiplies. It's like stacking natural disasters on top of each other. Storm surge plus saturated soil plus rising sea levels. That's not a bad week, that's a coastal catastrophe. And unfortunately, the pattern is pointing toward more frequent and intense storms, not fewer. Climate change is turning up the volume. Even if it's not directly mentioned in every forecast, it's the invisible hand behind a lot of this. Higher sea levels make even normal tides more destructive. Stronger storms hit harder and faster. The baseline is shifting, which means the old rulebook, it doesn't apply anymore. Communities are going to have to make impossible decisions. Which areas are worth saving? Which ones need to be abandoned? How much money do we pour into protecting the edge before we admit that it's moving? Because it is moving, and faster than most people are prepared to believe. Some places might hold on for another decade. Others won't make it through the next storm cycle. And when disaster hits, it hits fast. That's the paradox of slow-moving landslides. They creep for years, then collapse in minutes. So where does that leave us? With the coastline in crisis. A real-time disaster unfolding mile by mile. An escalating fight between land and sea that no sandbag wall can truly stop. And a state facing one of its most underappreciated emergencies because it's not as dramatic as wildfires or as immediate as earthquakes. But it's just as devastating. And it's not going away. What it needs is long-term planning. Not just repairs, but retreat strategies. Policies that say, we can't keep pretending the edge won't move. Engineering that anticipates failure instead of reacting to it. Monitoring systems that aren't just collecting data, but informing real-time decisions. And most of all, a willingness to stop building in zones that are, geologically speaking, already gone. But that's a tall order in a state where every square foot of coastal land is considered sacred and extremely profitable. Developers don't want to back off. Homeowners don't want to move. And politicians don't want to be the ones to deliver bad news. So the coast keeps breaking. The warnings get louder. The tech gets better. But the waves don't care. The cliffs don't wait. And maybe that's the hardest truth of all. You can out-engineer a lot of things. But you can't out-engineer geology. Not forever. Let's be clear. This isn't just a California problem. What's happening along this coast is a case study for every region flirting with the edge literally and metaphorically. Because while the cliffs are falling in Pacifica and the roads are snapping in Big Sur, this is really about the bigger illusion we've all bought into, that nature can be permanently engineered into submission. Spoiler alert, it can't. The truth is, we've been playing a losing game with erosion for decades. Every seawall, every bluff-top condo, every patch job on Highway 1 has been part of a collective denial. Like, sure, we know the ocean is rising, but maybe our part of the cliff will hold. Maybe our neighborhood won't be the one on the evening news. Maybe the ground won't move this year. But the ground is moving. Right now. Some towns are watching it shift centimeter by centimeter, week after week. And others, they don't get the warning. They just wake up one morning and there's a new crack in the pavement. Or the backyard patio is gone. What's especially cruel is that some of the most vulnerable spots are the most beautiful. These are places people dream about. Places with panoramic views, ocean breezes, and sunsets that sell houses for 7 figures. And those same places, built on unstable sediment, eroding bluffs, and cliff faces that have been quietly disintegrating for centuries. That's the dual reality here. Paradise and danger, wrapped into one. And the danger is escalating not just because of rain, waves, or poor planning, but because we're still pretending we can outlast it. That if we just add another layer of concrete, another drainage pipe, another emergency fund, we'll be fine. But eventually, nature calls our bluff. Even now, local governments are facing impossible choices. Do you invest in saving a collapsing road for a few more years? Or do you start planning to move it inland knowing that means buying up private land, redoing infrastructure, and probably facing lawsuits. Do you warn people early that their homes are at risk and risk tanking property values? Or do you wait until a landslide makes the decision for you? None of this is hypothetical anymore. It's all happening in real time. And every choice delayed makes the outcome worse. The engineering tools we have are incredible. Seriously, the tech side of this story is almost its own miracle. The fact that we can track land movement to within millimeters. That we have tide gauges measuring surge levels in real time. That satellites can alert responders to ground shifts before anyone on the ground even notices. That's all remarkable. But none of it changes the bigger truth. The California coast is not fixed. It's dynamic. It's shifting. It's alive. And we've treated it like a static postcard. And if you're wondering how long this has left before the crisis hits some kind of breaking point, here's the uncomfortable answer. In many places, it already has. Homes are being evacuated. Infrastructure is being rerouted. Some properties have become uninsurable. Others are on disaster watch every time it rains. Still, there's no master plan. No unified statewide coastal retreat strategy. Just local agencies fighting the ocean with spreadsheets and emergency contracts. A few good ideas here. A few desperate patch jobs there. The irony is, if this were a Hollywood blockbuster, we'd know exactly how it ends. The warning signs are always ignored. The storm always hits harder than expected. And by the time people realize what's happening, it's already too late. Except this isn't a movie. It's policy meetings, public works crews, and families watching their foundations slide. It's real money, real damage, and real consequences for ignoring nature's timelines. So what happens next? That depends on who's willing to admit what's really happening. If leaders start prioritizing long-term planning over short-term optics, maybe the next landslide won't take out a neighborhood. If communities embrace adaptive strategies, relocation, managed retreat, zoning reform, maybe there's still time to get ahead of the worst. But if not, then we'll just keep filming the same disaster from slightly different angles, hoping the cliff holds a little longer. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button. It tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.